Hello, how's it going? You are listening to Born Optimistic. This is season 3 of Born Optimistic, coming to you a little later than expected. I'm sorry the gap was longer than I would have expected, but a few things happened. And one of those things is the Tradfest podcast, which we're 2 episodes into. But I was also waiting to start season 3. I was waiting to meet the right person to make me kick it off. And I met that person the other day. His name is Jim Page. He's a singer best known to me for writing Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and being part of the anti-nuclear movement in the 80s in Ireland. He's from Seattle and Washington, and thanks to Tradfest, he's in Ireland. Jim, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, it's very good to be here. My pleasure.
And Jim, you've a massive tour of Ireland, and at the end of the podcast, I'm going to read every single one of these dates. Okay. So for any reason you're interested in seeing Jim live and you're not interested in listening to this podcast, scroll right to the very end and you'll get all the dates. Jim, I have to start by asking you the question I ask all of my guests first. Where do you sit on the optimism spectrum?
Oh, I'm completely optimistic. I'm almost moronically optimistic. I don't know if faith is the right word, but I'll use it because it, cuts across boundaries. I actually have faith in humanity. I think that people are, born blank probably, but leaning towards altruism, leaning towards democracy, leaning towards instinctually wanting to do the right thing. But I think that we are capable of being hypnotized, we are capable of being abused and behaving accordingly, and it only takes a few really abused hypnotists to screw everything up, and that's what you run into over and over again. I mean, we've come to a really dangerous crossroads, where, scientifically, bluntly, to be blunt, we might not make it. We actually physically might not make it. But it's not because we don't deserve to. That's nonsense. It's not because we're bad animals. It's not because, any of that stuff. It's because people have home lives. They love their children. They want to play with their children. They want to love their spouses. They want to watch the sunrise and set, and they want to have a nice life. And so they don't spend as much time watching what bandits do. That maybe if they did spend that time, they'd be able to cut them off at the pass. But since they were busy doing other things, the bandit gets away with it. So it's kind of like that.
And believe it or not, Jim, talking about just that very topic is why I was waiting to kick off season 3 with you, because season 3 for me is all about climate change and appropriate responses to it. Mm-hmm. What can we do? How can we do it? What is there to be done?
Well, there's stuff. Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a guitar player. My dad actually was a rocket scientist. He worked for NASA, so I guess I'm related to rocket science. But all I know is there are, what is it, like 8 billion people on the planet now or getting there. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're thinking. There's a lot of people out there a lot smarter than you and me. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're thinking. But you read about people who have come up with ways to collect the plastic off of the ocean. You read about people who have these plans online and schematics for filling, in California, for filling every available empty lot with shrubbery and bushes. Plant life. Statewide. Not letting anything, and the people that I've talked to who are up on ecology and how things work, they nod their heads and says, yes, that's a good idea. There are people that do stuff like that, and then you get a guy in the White House who kind of lumbers his way in and knocks everything over and says, this is mine now. I don't like science. They're gone. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to open the floodgates. We're going to drill in the Arctic, and we're going to have more oil. And I'm getting rid of all. You know what I'm saying? So it's very. I think we could do it. I don't know what the answer is, but I think we could.
What I'm trying to get at is, from the perspective of, in the last couple of months, I've been saying to myself, I don't want to be in a situation in 30 years' time when my children, or specifically hopefully my grandchildren, say to me, you noticed this happening. Right. All the articles were there. Everything was there. Why didn't you do anything? Yeah, right. And I'm at the stage of going, I don't want to be that person in 30 years' time. But I'm trying to figure out where all of us can start. The busy people who want to do the things that you just outlined. Spend time with your family, enjoy your life, do quality stuff. What are the appropriate reactions? Because sometimes it feels like watching a slow car crash unfold and you're waiting for that flashback. You know that flashback in the movie? and they're all headlines that you actually read when they came out first.
Right.
What's your reaction as an individual to what you see that's happening to our planet?
People need to pay more attention. The time for not paying attention is over. We need to pay more attention. Here, look, I know this isn't climate change. I know it's not climate change. But where I come from, the time for not paying attention is over. Funny how I get used to things. Funny how you get used to things. I went out this morning and the flags were half-mast. Something must have happened, but the news went by so fast. Funny how you get used to things you don't even see. Funny how you get used to things. At least that's how it seems to me. Now I don't even remember their names or where they're from. Life just takes over and things come undone. Funny how you get used to things. If I was a frog in the water and the water was getting hot, I might stay inside and swim around a while, 'cause I like it a lot. Funny how you get used to things. You don't even feel it. What does too late look like from a distance? Would you know you were getting close? Would they welcome you inside and say you're the one we love the most? Is that what it feels like when you're getting used to it? If I was a canary in a coal mine and the gas was getting thick, I probably wouldn't be able to do anything about it anyway, 'cause I'd be busy getting sick. Funny how you get used to things. He walked into the building when everybody was there. He killed a whole lot of them just like that. And you wonder why people are scared. They can't get used to it. It's not normal. Whatever might be the reason when the race begins to spin, somebody doesn't like your looks, they might just do you in. Funny how you get used to things. So I'm packing up my baggage and I'm headed for the road. There's a future with my name on it and it's ready to explode, and I can't get used to it. It's not normal. I can't get used to it. I never will.
Gorgeous tune, great lyrics, your voice.
That has nothing to do with climate change at all, but it has to do with getting used to danger. I wrote it after, we've had a lot of killings in the States, you know, with guns and stuff, and I wrote it after that guy walked into the synagogue and killed 16 people. just like that. And I was walking around, I just started thinking, and what came to my mind was, everybody says, it's too late, it's too late. Well, what does too late look like from a distance? If we could recognize too late from a distance as a people, what does it look like from a distance? And what my answer was, that's when they say, oh, we love you, and they bring you in. We love you. We're going to do this for your benefit. And that's too late from a distance. Well, I guess what I'm saying is we have to start paying attention. And we have to start learning the difference between someone who says it's within your best interest and what actually is in your best interest, because they're not always the same thing. That makes sense?
The thing that I've noticed about people and about humanity is that things tend to happen just in time. And I used to think it was just Irish people, but I think in general, people aren't very good at planning things in advance.
I'm a guitar player, you're talking to me?
And everything happens just in time. People are worried about Brexit at the moment and what's going to happen with the hard exit and food shortages and all this. And I'm like, you know what? They're going to divert the ferries. We'll get our food supply. It's all going to be good. And there's no point in diverting the ferries before time because there's no need. Just divert them when there is time and bring the stuff straight from France or Germany or whatever. But the climate change thing, the one thing that I've learned over the last couple of months, or the thing I've become aware of, is that there was a concerted effort to make us, the general public, feel like it was our fault because we weren't recycling enough plastic.
Right. That's called passing the buck. And it's passing the buck to the powerless.
Yes, and that's been debunked in the last few months for me. And now the thinking is that, that what we have to do is we have to unite together and take steps together and lean on policymakers and lawmakers and do things on a big level. And this, for me, has only crystallised in the past few months. And to be honest, I was more a believer in individual action before I realised that. Because sometimes I'm a joiner-inner, sometimes I'm not. But it feels like we all need to be joiner-inners now.
But we do. We need to unite. We need to put petty little differences aside and unite, because our united lives depends on it. United as a whole, we're not going to make it. Unless united as a whole, we decide to work on it. I wrote this song. This one I'm going to do now. Let's just kind of go, and then whatever seems right to you. It's called "Never Give Up." Dirty water and the falling rain. You wipe your initials on the window pane. Freedom walks on the avenue. And you'd be there too if it was up to you. You never give up. From the tower block to the battleground, jump on over, it's a long way down. Gravity bends to the last frontier. There are no other limits here. You never give up. You never give up. And though they may slam the door, wipe your face on the floor, you've seen it before, and you never give up. They scare you silly with a faceless god. They wrap your knuckles with a lightning rod. You carry it with you in a gunny sack, an invisible monkey on your bended back. But you never give up. You never give up. You beat your head on a solid wall. All you need is a crack, you don't need it all. The wall just laughs and turns away. You keep at it anyway. You never give up. You never give up. Oh, it's every crooked deal, and their laws are made of steel. It's only half as real as you are when you never give up. world inside where your mind is free, and there's a world outside where you'd like to be. And there's a fine line where your vision clears, and all the distance disappears, and you never give up. I'll meet you when the morning comes, saxophones and the marching drums, gleeful trees by the water's edge, flowers on the window ledge. You never give up, they never give up, you never give up.
Need I ask who they are? They. The they you refer to in the song.
Those are the ones who have designed your future for you. They put you in boarding schools. They take away your name and give you another one. They put you in solitary confinement. They explain your position in society, your class, your capabilities. They promise you without allowing you to have things. They hold you back. They show you pictures of where you can go and then say, actually, you can't because you're the wrong class, you're the wrong color, you're the wrong sex, you're the wrong age. That's who they are. History is full of thems, and history is full of us's, and the us's usually win in the long run, but it can be, it can be hectic getting there, but it seems to me what we can do, one of the things we can do is we can tell our stories. We have to stop thinking that we're worthless, that we don't have. We all know people that don't think they have anything to say, right? They told you had nothing to say, and you almost believed them, but you spoke out anyway. And when you were old enough to leave them, you went out on the drift, and you found out soon enough that the ties they bound you with were pretty flimsy stuff. And everybody has a story you might not think you do. Find someone to tell it to, and it will come alive. The heroes of their fantasies, they splashed across the skies, but they were hollow and you knew it. You could see through their disguise. Somebody had to tell it. People had the right to know. And once you found the language, the words began to flow. And everybody has a story you might not think you do. Find someone to tell it to, and it will come alive. You didn't think you had it in you. You thought you were alone, but out among the multitude your confidence has grown. Now your voice is like a beacon, calling to the ears of those who care to listen to their sorrow and their tears. And everybody has a story you might not think you do. Find someone to tell it to, and it will come alive. Because someone holds the reins of the regimental horse, and someone leads the blind along the suicidal concourse. It's within their best interest to keep you weak and small, Your voice is their nemesis and your story is their downfall. And everybody has a story, you might not think you do. Find someone to tell it to and it will come alive. Everybody has a story, you might not think you do. Find someone to tell it to and it will come alive. It'll come alive.
What started you on the road to this life?
I don't know. Well, I was a dysfunctional kid in a dysfunctional kind of icebox family through nobody's intentional blame that I know of. It's just kind of the way things wound up. And the guitar came along, and, it was something that I could speak with. And it saved my life. This thing saved my life. It gave me a way to talk to people that I wouldn't have otherwise had, and I wouldn't be here now. I would have been, it would have been a number in a statistic book somewhere, I don't know. Music can do that. Songs can do that. Songs are very wonderful things. They are. It's amazing what you can do to a song. We should never let other people tell us what we can sing about. And we should never let them take our language from us. Pop is short for popular. And if that's actually popular music, then it is impossible to write a pop song that fails. Okay? Because by definition, the majority of the people would like it, right? But pop songs fail all the time, so it actually isn't popular music. It's music. Some of it's really good, but we shouldn't let them take our adjectives away from us like that, because then we don't have any way to describe the world we live in. And if we can't describe the world we live in, then we can't describe the world we want to live in. You're going to fix your house, you got to know what's wrong with it. You go to the dentist, he tells you what's wrong with your teeth so he can fix your teeth. It's like, it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple stuff. So anyway.
Well, you chose this.
I give you longer answers than you want.
But you chose this over rocket science.
Well, yeah. Typically most kids don't want to do what their dads do. And things were kind of uncomfortable, again, through nobody's overt blame or fault, but they were kind of uncomfortable. And to do what my father did meant that I would wind up like that, and I just didn't want to. And it was the 60s, it was like 1965, I heard Lightning Hopkins for the first time, riding in the back of a car. Yeah, 65. It was like, oh my God, half the people listening weren't even alive then. Jesus Christ, did they have running water back then? No, we didn't. We didn't even have water. It hadn't been invented yet. But 1965, I heard Lightning Hopkins singing a song about Santa Claus. And the way he sang told me everything I ever needed to know about songs. Because he was able to take his life and send it all the way through the airways into my little teenage ear in the back of my parents' car. And that was a guy who never finished grade school. I don't even think he knew how to write his name. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. Wow. He was my hero because he was the first guy I ever heard who could transcend all the miles, all the distance, all the medium, all the walls and all the jail cells and everything. Transcend it through a song. He could come all the way with a song like that to my little ear. And that changed everything. It changed everything. And then I went to my first coffee house and that changed it again. And then I heard, everything, it was the 60s. And then Country Joe and the Fish came along, and that changed it, and then, the Jefferson Airplane, that changed it again, and then you're dropping acid, and then you're going up in the hills smoking pot, and then you're playing the guitar. And I started playing right away, and I started writing right away, but I didn't know what to say. I had nothing to say except that I wanted to get out of my box. All I knew was that I wanted to get out of my box, because I was in a box, a little small one. That's all I knew. So I just made things up, and I tried to make them sound like they meant something. And then over years, what happened to me was, I experienced a very profound, to me, liberation one time. When I sat outside, I had a couple of a couple of guitar teachers, one that almost drove me away from the instrument entirely, and another one who opened doors. Okay, and I was sitting outside in the little town of Saratoga in California with the one who had opened the doors, and we're sitting outside in the downtown Saratoga. It was a summer evening, and I just started playing chords, and I just made something up along with it, made it up as it went along. I think I just talked it, made it up, but it rhymed and everything, and I got this incredible feeling of liberation. It's like, oh my God, I could do anything with this. I could, because this is your stage. Shakespeare said the world is a stage. Well, this is the world right here. This is your stage that you carry around with you. This thing, this 6-string guitar. Any place you go, you whip this thing out, and that's your stage right there. And once you get that going, well, now you just start talking, you get out of your chair, and you start walking down a corner to the drinking fountain, or you put on your water skis, or go climb a mountain, or you're flying around like a kite in the far-off summer breeze, howling at the moon, hanging like a monkey in the trees, because you're playing your guitar. And I found that if I played this here guitar, it didn't matter if I had a motorcycle, bicycle, or a car. I was going near or going far. If I was going to go drink in a coffee shop bar, or if I was going to sing a lonesome blues, or go out and wear a brand new pair of shoes, or shine myself on a busted nose, or go on downtown to the fire hose, I could be anything I wanted to be as long as I played that guitar. Because it all made sense, because it was its own system. Semantics need something to hang on, don't they? Well, this thing right here, this thing has done everything. Anything you could think of, this thing has done. I mean, as an entity in the world, right? So you could do anything with it. So that opened everything, and then the last folk club closed in Seattle. I got to Seattle via New York City. I hitchhiked New York City and then wound up coming up to Seattle. And there was one folk club, and it was called the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, because of Vietnam, right? See, all the folk clubs were political, all of them, that I ever went to, all of them, at least to a certain extent, because of the war, because of draft resistors, because a lot of folk clubs happened in church basements, and the ministers were always involved in the Underground Railroad, that sort of thing. So it was a very political scene, but it was a rounded political scene. You didn't just do only political songs. You did everything. And politics was a part of that everything, as it should be. So that's what we did. So I wound up in Seattle, and the last folk club closed, and I didn't know what to do. And I started going to rock and roll bars. And I would play in between.
What year is this?
71.
Why did the last folk club close?
It just did, I don't know.
Fashion?
No, fashion, yeah, I don't know. They couldn't afford it, I don't know. But so all that was left was, as far as music went, was rock and roll bars. So I started going to rock and roll bars and playing in between band sets and passing my hat, which taught me a great lesson. Great lesson. How do you get people's attention? You with your little acoustic guitar, no wires. I didn't plug in. The bands were all very generous. I love rock and roll bands. Bar bands are the rock and roll bar bands. That's the greatest music anywhere. That beats everything. A rock and roll bar band beats everything. Wonderful people, wonderful music, and they would give me their 15 minutes during the break. I had to get everybody's attention. Now, you couldn't always do it, but often you could. Then you had to hold it. So you had to be able to sing a song that would hold them content-wise, vocal-wise, rhythm-wise, groove, all that. You had to be a band because they'd be listening to the band. Your guitar had to be a band, and the words had to have a groove and a rhythm and all that kind of stuff. And then you had to pass your hat because that's how you got paid. But you're not begging. You're not begging. So once you get off the stage, you don't say a word to anybody. You walk around with your hat in your hand. And if they remember who you were, and they want to give you money, then you earned it. If they don't remember and they don't want to, you didn't for whatever reason, and you leave penniless. That's just the way it goes. It's a really fine line sort of a thing. I did that for like 6 years, something like that.
So what song worked?
It all depends. A lot of songs worked. I had a lot of songs in those days. I had one called The Great Alaska Oil Rush, which was all about the Alyeska pipeline going up into Alaska. And I wrote Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Russian Roulette back then. I was playing that in the bars. And that worked. But some of these songs you had to set them up right. Because people were dancing and they had a few beers and stuff, But what I was leading to was that I also played on the University of Washington campus and on the streets in different places. Street playing was actually kind of fun, but it wasn't lucrative. It was just a place to sharpen your chops and, get the flow going and kind of practice with your semantics and stuff and play around. The college was great. I could get like 300 people out there, one guy with a guitar out there doing these songs, and they had to learn what to do. I learned that people would listen to songs that were about them. And I learned that by singing about people that walked by, improvising lyrics when they walked by, their shoes, their hats, their briefcases, whatever, their hair, and then they would, it's a test. They would either laugh or they would get mad or they would try to ignore you, whatever. But, most people laughed because it's a good-natured thing. That it was, you're not being a jerk. And people would see you do it and they would stop to watch to see who else you sang about. And that's how you gathered a crowd. And if the crowd began to dissipate, that's how you regathered a crowd. And then you would sing the songs. You had to introduce the songs correctly, you had to sing them correctly, and they had to be about the people you're singing to, at least peripherally. And you could explain it in that way. You're singing a song about a draft dodger. I got a song called The Singer and the AWOL Kids, actually. It's these two AWOL GIs that were picked up by a singer friend of mine on his way up to Seattle to do a gig. He picked them up in the car, found out where they were on the run. This happened a lot in the 60s. He pulled over at a sporting good place. He got them dried food, canteens, Metzger maps of the border area up Canada, flashlights. Drove him past Seattle, all the way up to the Canadian border, took a side road, dropped him off, gave him $20. Say, here, there's your stuff. Now get out of here. I don't know me. I don't know you, and you don't know me. Okay? Anyone asks you, you've never heard of me. Deal? He said, deal. Turned around. He was late for his own gig. But that's what he did. And if you told that story correctly, everybody in the audience would know what you were talking about. Then you could sing this. And that's how I learned to do this. Because once you sing a song about something like that, somebody who's actually done it will walk up and introduce themselves and talk to you and say, hey, you want to come? There's a whole bunch of us over here. And you'll meet people. And then someone will take you somewhere and introduce you to, you know what I'm saying? The world opens up because you've spoken to the world. Exactly.
You connect with them.
Right. So that's kind of a really short take on a long story.
Tell me about do you call it the Amazon song?
No, I just call it Amazon.
Amazon, sorry.
Right. No worries.
Would you mind sharing it?
We live in a boomtown metropolis, a place where success is a weapon of war. Some people live in spectacular mansions. Some people can't afford to live anywhere anymore, but Bezos has money. He's got all of that money, more than $100 billion in his pants, way down in his pants. They built a shiny new temple to themselves downtown. People genuflect as they pass. Artificial sunlight and climate control, so they can colonize the jungle behind a pane of glass. And because Bezos has the money, he's got all of that money clutching in the fingers of his hand. He's a rich man. Amazon, you don't have the right to use that name. Amazon, it is a nation and a people. Amazon, one of the world's greatest rivers. Amazon, it is the lungs of the planet, and we can barely breathe anymore. gather together to see what is to be done. We know the risks we take are perilous. We sharpen up our wits for the days ahead to come. Somebody has to, and it might as well be us, because we have the history. We know what we are doing. And we will not just disappear. We want to stay right here. Amazon, you don't have the right to use that name. Amazon, it is a nation and a people. Amazon, one of the world's greatest rivers. Amazon, it is the lungs of the planet. And this is our planet, and it is not for sale.
I love the way your songs are just so catchy.
Fishing. They're catchy. Well, I don't know what to say about that. You learn over time. I learned over time not to put everything into a song, because first of all, it's pointless. Second of all, by the time you put everything into the song, everything will have changed. And thirdly, people are smarter than that. People are smarter than you are. If you're writing songs and getting on stage and singing them to people, they're smarter than you are. And you're standing in front of 30 people or 30,000 people, they're way smarter than you are. And if you talk down to them, you got to tell them everything because you think they don't know, they'll have you for lunch. You learn that one the hard way too. So,
I can't, but why has it been so long since you've been in Ireland? You spent 3 years here in the 80s, and this is your first time back.
No, it's not my first time back.
Oh, I thought this was your first time back.
I've come, oh God, we've ruined everything now. The interview was on. No, I've come back, but it was on, I kind of didn't know what direction to go for a while there. It's like, this is my life. It's my career, but it's also my life. And I didn't quite know, what to do sometimes. I have a lot of friends here, and I'd come back and I would just do little gigs, little bar gigs, and I'd hang out with my friends and see what's going on and all that. And, the timing has to be right for the art to work. It really does. For me, it does. In life, it does.
So this is the most concerted thing you've done here for quite a while, so this tour.
Yes. I have a really good agent, and I have really good people who are, excited that I'm here and so on. And yeah, everything is looks really good right now. I've been here when almost nobody knew I was here, and I've been here when I got to go on the Gay Burns show the night before the last gig.
Oh wow!
I'll say that again, the night before the last gig. So all the gigs up until the last gig were okay, and then the last gig, the line went around the block. Things like that happen, and there's nothing you can do.
But now we have a few days between now and your next gig, and I know that even when you were in Dublin Castle the day before yesterday, playing that song, Amazon, turned a lot of heads, and I know you're going to be cropping up all over the airwaves. Good. And we're recording this Monday, Jan 28th. I'm going to share it Tuesday, Jan 29th, to get it out to people. There's a few people I have in mind who I really want to hear this. And then your next gig is this Thursday, the 31st, in Athlone Folk Club, Prince of Wales Hotel. Mm-hmm. Friday, Feb 1st, the Crane Bar in Galway. Saturday 2nd, upstairs at Dolan's. Say hello to John Hennessy when you're there, please do. Monday 4th of Feb, Mick Murphy's in Ballymore Eustace, Kildare. Great folk crowd there. The 7th of Feb, the gorgeous Triskel, Christchurch in Cork. Friday, Feb, 8th, Tremor Coast Guard Station Theatre. Amazing theatre. Beautiful little theatre. The 12th of Feb, American Bar in Belfast. Wednesday, 13th of Feb, Groucho's in Armagh. The 14th of Feb, Valentine's Night, Ross Trevor Folk Club. An amazing spot. Gorgeous.
I know, I've been there, yeah.
Gorgeous spot. And then the 16th, your gig closer to Dublin, the Seamus Ennis Arts Centre in Knoll. on the 16th of February. Now, you've got your return flight booked. You're definitely going home? What date?
Well, probably, yeah, the 19th. The 19th, yeah.
The 19th, okay.
Right.
JimPage.net and Madeline Seiler at the Headline Agency if you want to try and squeeze something in between the 16th and 19th. Who knows? You might be rested and relaxing. But Jim, this has been such a pleasure, such a joy to get these songs in such intimate
I have
surroundings.
a lot of songs. I could do this for a long time. But, we don't have the time, and I don't want to do everything. And it was an honor to be here. And it's beautiful to be in this beautiful country. I have a lot of friends here. It's like a second home to me, and it's just, I don't know, I'm stunned and I'm very happy to be here. I'm just happy. So thank you very much for asking me.
Oh, honoured and delighted, and what a great way to kick off season 3. I've been waiting to meet the right person at the right time to kick Born Optimistic back into action. We haven't done a show since August, I think, or July, or maybe even June. It's been a while since we've done a show. So you've kicked it. You're season 3 in full effect.
I would love to, just for you, Donald. I would like to do one more song
Absolutely.
and put it down on your tape, and you can use it if you want to.
Oh,
not
we'll
if you don't
use
want
it. We will use it.
I don't. It's entirely up to you. You don't even know what it's about. So. I'll tell you a story. All good friends of mine are the heroes and survivors of a terrible time. Two great peoples, separated by the sea, joined in understanding of a great calamity. Oh, great calamity. 1831, it was the darkest of their years. Andrew Jackson drove the Choctaw on the Trail of Tears with a saber and a rifle on a 1,000-mile drive to the land of Oklahoma. Only half would survive. Only half would survive. They called it reservation. It was a cage without a wire. 100 years later, the Germans would admire, surrounded by a state that held the lock and key to the vision of their future and their free humanity. Oh, their free humanity. Half the world away in the emerald Irish land, famine stalked the countryside with doom on every hand. Starvation to desperation, driven to extremes, they died eating grass, their mouths stained with green. Oh, their mouths stained with green. And it was the British Empire that held the lock and key to their island reservation and their free humanity across the hungry countryside. They walked the Trail of Tears through death and emigration. Half the people disappeared. Half the people disappeared. News travels fast when it goes from hand to hand all across the mighty ocean to the Oklahoma land. And when the Choctaw heard the story of the Irish and their plight, they knew they were related, though their skins were red and white. Though their skins were red and white. And though their hands were nearly empty and their lands were nearly bare, they collected all the money that they thought that they could spare, and they sent it off to Ireland to their unknown new friends. $170, it was a fortune to them then. It was a fortune to them then. wonder at my story. You may marvel at its worth, but I tell you there is goodness in the people of the earth, and I tell you there is beauty in the darkest of the days, and a light that comes shining, blow the darkness all away, blow the darkness all away.
Gorgeous, gorgeous story, Jim. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's amazing how you wrap the happy and the sad, the up and the down, all in the one song there, really.
But it's true.
Yeah.
People do this. I learned from playing on the street that when the man comes down the sidewalk in a brand new three-piece suit with a briefcase, he ain't going to give you any money. But when the other man comes down the sidewalk wearing an old pair of dungarees and broken shoes, he is.
Why do you think that is?
Well, that's a whole other interview. It's just, and that's not, none of this is in stone. None of it's in stone because not everybody's any one way. It's all fluid and mutable. But people who have experienced desperation will help out another desperate people before someone who's never experienced it. That's just kind of the way of the world, And I found that story by accident when I was out in Doolin 20 years ago, something like that. And there was a little article about this famine walk that people were doing. There were these Choctaws coming over to walk with them. And I said, what is this? Why is that happening? It's just kind of a random international solidarity thing. And then I found out, and there was an historical society called the Cottage, downtown Dublin. And I went to it because this guy from the Cottage had written a letter to the Irish Times about it. And he was from the Cottage, so I went down to see him. And of course, he was on vacation. He was in the Canary Islands or something. And nobody had any information to give me except one. They made me a photocopy of one newspaper article from like 1843 or something. Little tiny thing. And it was very sketchy, very small, and it didn't, 2 paragraphs or 3, That was all I had. And I lost the article. I read it like 5 times and then lost it. Couldn't find it. So I wrote it from memory. But I didn't want to... There's different ways to write songs. I didn't want to write a song that had all the names and all the dates and all that stuff. I wanted to have a song that put picture A next to picture B, those people and those people, and brought them together and made everybody understand that $170 is a ton of money to somebody who is broke. And these broke people took up a collection and sent it over to those hungry people over there. And that was enormous. An enormous thing to do. So that's what I wanted to do. That's what I did. And I was able to do it with what I could remember.
Gorgeous. And if you've got this far into our podcast, you obviously like what you've been listening to and you know what to do. Go to jimpage.net and get to be in the same room and have the same privilege that I've had, get in the same room as Jim Page and breathe the same air and hear his wonderful songs with these gorgeous melodies and your great voice.
Well, thank you.
It's it's really... I love the way you make the guitar sing and love your voice as well as your lyrics.
Yeah, well, sometimes I play better than others, but yeah.
You got the whole package.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
And thank you all for listening. And yeah, we're back, season 3, and see you next Monday with well, I know who it's going to be, but I'm not going to tell you next Monday. Thank you so much. Well, we're putting this out on a Tuesday because it's a special occasion, because I don't want to wait till next Monday to put it out. I want to get it out Tuesday. So
we can get the gigs going out there.
Get it out there.
Cool.
We spread the word.
Thank you.
Digitally. We get it out there and hashtag and tag everyone and spread the word.
Good.
Thank you for listening. This has been BornOptimistic. Bye.